still in college. Not, not until they're out of college. And probably after that, they won't come to the school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's
In January,
I got, house, but now it's like next year, I'm back to graduate school, to become a teacher, and then, I got one in college. And that's about it. But I gotta be here.
Yeah.
I don't think oh, yeah, and like, I feel like, I mean, I want to keep working, but I feel like, I gotta do it. I'm not gonna sell them. I know.
So obviously that, but I guess. Yeah, that's our biggest key word here, start to. You know, there's been seeing how that gives you some better numbers than average. Hey, you're like, yeah, no, I it's too, sorry. I heard that. Yeah. Yeah, I am more than happy to so, yeah, but I mean, there's some things there. Just get Medicare, it's reimbursement. So. I mean, I think it's also hospital. Rural care is it doesn't matter where you're at when you have abortions. You still need to get to the same hospital. Basically, you know. Yeah, and those all. And then. Right, and you're back in service quicker, even if you're delayed, you know. Work related. Yeah. And right now, that is a over. In terms of all. You worked for 2 Today's because it's just already it's a big I was there, like, hey, I'm running the room, I gotta go out. They were and then they came back. Yeah. So we find out. So.
That's the question.
I don't know. But. We didn't have anything because we were. So it's just. One day and one day it's. They try. Easier to jump in. I didn't have much time to find out. It's easy. That's what they were.
I'm gonna call you.
Maybe the volume being turned up some of the volume.
Short people are.
It's everybody. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I've had several people mention to me that they cannot hear the board members when they talk. So I'm just asking everyone to remember to speak into the microphone when you're speaking tonight so that everyone can hear. First, on the agenda is a discussion on moving the village general election from March until June. Jess brought this up at our last meeting, and since then the board has received a possible resolution to do. Oh. So the board has received this resolution earlier today. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, I guess I don't have any questions, but I am like hesitant to offer this position at this time. And I did hear from a few of our residents who are.
Can you speak into the mic so you can hear yourself?
Can you hear me better now?
Put it closer.
Like better now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I guess I don't really have any questions, but I'm hesitant to offer this proposition on the ballot. I did hear from a few residents who are questioning why we're changing it. I don't know. I think like when I was the clerk, I would have preferred to keep it in March instead of June. June is a very busy month for the clerk's office, and to add the election to it is that month could be a lot. And also the issue of new board members in the budget. So I think one of the reasons why they wanted, why some that switched to June is, because a board member will already have been elected and then, but the opposite side of that is that now you're having to, work with a budget that you had nothing to do with. So, whereas, like for right now, there'll be board members coming off and there'll be board members coming on, all while, at the election time. And I think that's actually a good thing where it's hard for new board members maybe to understand a budget when they're getting on, but it also familiarizes themselves with it so that they know, when the budget starts in June. I don't know. I'm not sure I see a reason strong enough to change it to June, I guess. And I'm not sure, I think there's only one village that does June. Most do March. Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I didn't. That was a conversation you and I had, so.
There are several across the state going to the other election time for the reasons mentioned above when Jess discussed it. I think every month is a busy month for the village office. And after being on the board and for a while and just seeing the process, especially when new people come on, they get used to the way things run. They get used to the budgetary considerations for all the department heads. And I think there's a strong case for moving the election, and it won't be done until next year. It's not like it's going to be moved this year. So this board just has to agree to put it on if you've spoken to residents, let them vote on it. If we put it on the ballot in March, and then we'll see how the residents feel. But this board has to agree to put it on the ballot.
A little bit to add, when I got on the board 2 years ago, that I thought it was beneficial that I was part of the budget. Also, I believe that if you're coming in on the board, it's a good opportunity to meet our department heads as they present their budget, because you're going to be, basically you're doing your whole year on them numbers. I think you should be part of that. That's what's kind of hicking me up about changing it. I don't know if I agree with that, but that's where we're at on that with it. I feel that, I think if you get elected on the board, I think you should be part of that budget and coming in, working with a budget that somebody else might have already left. That's my concern.
But if you're also thinking of being on the board, you should be attending the budget meetings that are open to the public, and then you can see how the process goes if you're thinking.
I agree with that. I think you should have a saying. Obviously, our budget meetings, you're not supposed to sit in there. You're not supposed to talk or that kind of. You're not making any decisions if you agree or disagree. Just the way I feel. Obviously, if you come on the board, you should be attending meetings and know what's going on. But I still think that you should be part of the budget process when you come on the board. I really do. It surely helped me.
Does anyone else, any other board members have anything to say?
As much as I didn't like
Can
getting,
you put it right down, right up to your mouth?
can you hear me? As much as I didn't like getting signatures this time of year, the budget I'm working with now is the one that I presented and worked on. And we're at that, past purchases, I too think that, being involved in the budget, know what we're working with, know where those numbers came from, understanding them moving forward and after looking at it. And putting it on the ballot, would be up to the public to vote on it, but really it's the work of the trustees that is a vote that they're gonna vote on and really don't have a lot of knowing what's going on with it, the general public, if you do vote on it. I'm all right with getting signatures and the winner. I mean, I would rather work with a budget that I created than one handed to me and, carry these orders out. Not, with just transparency and knowing where the money is. If a board member leaves, you're not understanding their thought, at least that way. You'd be forced to be part of the process.
Jeff, do you have anything else to say?
No, just that, honestly, continue to be shocked by the things that are no-brainers. This is something that every other municipality in the county outside of a couple of villages do. You run your election in November, but the budget is completed prior to the first of the year when you take your office, and that's pretty standard everywhere else. But it's the decision of the board whether or not that moves on to the voters, and it takes a majority to pass it. So even though to me it seems like a foregone conclusion that I wouldn't want somebody who can contribute very little knowledgeable information to a budget being a part of being a pen holder in that discussion. I mean, we get a lot of feedback from the public during budget sessions. I see a lot of members in the public here who don't feel stifled about speaking to us during those times, and that's beneficial to us. And I think that would likely continue into this year's budget sessions and beyond. So while I think an incoming board member would benefit from having those meetings scheduled around their schedule as well, so therefore they would have more of a say in what goes on in those meetings, if they'd be able to be there more often. I think that it makes a lot more sense to have the person who knows the ins and outs of the village writing the budget than it does to have them pick up a pen the day after they got elected and hope that they understand what they're looking at. But it's the decision of the board. This is a work session. I do plan to bring it for resolution next month, so I'm open to have further conversation with anybody on why they do or do not want the voters to make that choice.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to say about this? That's going to bring it up at meeting at the end of the month. Thank you, everyone. Okay, next up is the ladder truck discussion. And I know that Captain Young wanted to say a few things tonight. Can you use that microphone? Probably have to turn, I don't know if it's turned on.
Can you hear me?
Is it on? You're gonna hit that. There you
How's
go.
that working? All right, my name is Mike Young. I'm the captain here with the fire department. Thank you for the chance to speak tonight. I know after our last meeting, there's a lot of animosity between the board and the fire department. I want to just take a step back here, try to bring this conversation to a point where we can all work together to actually make something fruitful and productive for both the village and the fire department. Try to get things moving forward in the right steps here. To start with, I want to kind of go back and explain a little bit of a history of why we chose the truck that we did purchase. As a senior member of the department, I was heavily involved in how we went about designing this truck, how we went about figuring out what we wanted to get. And I promise you that we looked at a lot of things. We did our due diligence. We looked at new trucks. We looked at used trucks. And we definitely looked at our different options. We understand the fiscal responsibility that the board needs to take. And we're a part of, we need to keep prices reasonable so that we can function as a department and the village can afford what they need. We understand that. And with that in mind, we looked at used trucks, looked at new trucks, and we need to understand that the size of our doors really do constrict what we can get. The truck that we looked at essentially, we got 10-foot 6-inch opening, but that opening is actually reduced. So when you look at the approach angle of our firehouse, the floor of our truck bay is not at street level. So we have a fairly steep incline. Our front apron is on a little bit of an incline, which is kind of unusual for a fire department. Ideally, we want to have a flat incline as we approach the building. But because we have that steeper incline, as a truck is backing up towards the bay, it's backing into the bay, it actually makes the height of the truck more than it really is. We actually had found a truck on paper. It was a mid-mount ladder truck. On paper, this truck actually fit into the truck bay. It was the right size height-wise. We thought we were going to have a couple, 2 or 3 inches of clearance. Sorry.
I think that you turn it face, there you go.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Sorry. So we thought we were going to have a couple inches of clearance. But then when we actually brought this truck out here for a demo, trying to back it into the bay, we realized that what we thought was 2 or 3 inches clearance was actually about 5 inches too big. So that approach angle significantly reduces what we can and cannot put in this truck bay. And that doesn't matter if it's a new truck or a used truck. I mean, we need to get a truck that's going to be, even if you guys decide to sell this and go with a used truck, I mean, what are we looking at for a truck? 10, 15 years old. And that's old for what we're looking for. But even a truck that's that old, it's going to be built to the same dimensions that a current truck is. So when people make statements that we can just go out there and buy a used truck, we need to understand that we did our due diligence. And I honestly feel there was not a truck out there when we were looking before 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 1 year ago. Today, I honestly feel there's not a used truck on the market that will fit in our truck bay. And that goes for new trucks too. We thought that we had a truck that would fit. It didn't. We talked to other manufacturers and they said the same thing, that approach angle really screws things up and it really limits what we can do. I firmly believe that if we're going to keep the ladder truck in our department, we need to have a bay added onto the firehouse that's going to house this apparatus. New or used, it doesn't matter what kind of truck it is, we need to have a bay. And I think that's the only solution that we can look at. We've looked, I promise you, we did our due diligence. And this truck that we decided to go with it's not an easy truck. I mean, yes, it's high quality, but I mean, if you're talking about pickup trucks, this is the work truck version. It's not the high country or anything like that. This is a work truck. It's not flashy. It's not extravagant. It's what we need to do our job and protect the structures that we have here. If you look at, there's 2 different types of ladder trucks that are out there. Rear mount ladder trucks, which is what we went with, where the turntable is mounted at the rear of the truck. And there's certain strategic advantages to having that. There's also a mid-mount ladder truck, where the turntable is in the middle of the truck, and those trucks are shorter in height. That's what we were looking at to try to get into the bay, and we realized that it wasn't an option. So we did go with the larger truck, knowing that no matter what we went with, we really were not going to have an option of fitting into our bay. And the larger truck provides us with a lot more usable features that are better for our community. The larger truck, the rear mount truck, it's got a longer wheelbase, it's got more storage, we can put more hose in the truck. Our water system here is a legitimate concern. We have hydrants that are out of service. We have small water lines, small water mains, and to get the water supply that we need, a lot of times we're going to have a contingency plan, because a lot of times, ideally, we obviously want to fight a fire with the hydrants right across the street or right in front of the house or whatever building's on fire. A lot of times we pull up and that fire hydrant's out of service, or we got to go a block down the road or whatever because of the size of the water that's on that street. We need to have a truck that has extra hose capabilities of having that water supply so that we can do our job as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Larger truck also has the rear mount truck. The ladder itself is more usable. So strategically, when we're responding to a fire, we want to back this truck into the building. So if the rear of the truck is closest to the structure, it gives us the most access to use the ladder, the most reach, the most function. And The rear mount truck provides us a lot more benefits than a mid mount. The mid mount is going to have some restrictions as to the arc that the ladder is going to be able to operate in. You got concerns about striking the cab of the truck or any top mounted equipment on that truck when when certain angles are used on the ladder. The rear mount truck, we have full 360-degree rotation without worry about striking a cab or anything that's at the rear of the or mounted on top of the truck. And this gives us the ability to park in many different locations, reach many different parts of the structure, and also to reach higher up on the structure. So there's a lot of reasons why we went with this truck that we did. I can get into more details if you wish. But really the bottom line is we designed this truck because it's going to have the most function for our fire department and to help us protect the buildings that we have to protect. I really firmly believe that you go out there. I think if you look at the history of the fire department, the village has not invested in the infrastructure of our firehouse since the 1950s. The building that we have currently was given to us in the 50s. It used to be a DPW building. It was built in the 1930s, given to us in the 50s. The village has not put any significant money into improvements into that building in decades. And unfortunately, time has caught up to us where trucks are just too big and we cannot squeeze into the 10-foot 6-inch opening anymore. Used truck, new truck, I really don't think it matters. We're going to have to put a bay on our firehouse if we want to continue to provide a ladder truck as part of our service package. Now, if we don't do a ladder truck, we stop having that as one of our options, then we're talking about some significant economic issues. ISO ratings change. It's going to be more cost prohibitive for people to get insurance for their businesses and manufacturing and all that kind of stuff. And we can get into details on that too if you want. But I really discourage the idea of not having a ladder truck at all. And I really think at this point in time, we designed a truck that was as cheap as we possibly could, provide the functions that we need. And if we can keep this truck that we have now, moving forward, try to get this addition taken care of as quick as possible, I think it's in the best interest of everybody.
Thank you, Captain Young.
Thank you.
I just want to say, Mike, I appreciate everything that you just said, and I appreciate the manner in which you said it. I wish that your fellow firefighters could have been as gracious and as kind as you were, and informative. I really wish that. So I appreciate you coming forward and saying these things tonight. And I too hope that we can move forward with a, congenial manner. I really hope so. I understand what you're saying about the use trucks and not fitting. So what I got from that though is that maybe what we should have done 3 years ago or 4 years ago was actually look at a building rather than a truck. Because the reason why we're in this spot is because we have the truck without the building. I mean, you cannot ignore that fact. So if we would have started out with a building, knowing full well, as you said, that we can't even get a used truck with it, maybe that's how we should have went, and maybe that's how something we could look at going forward.
So I have to disagree with you. The ask initially years ago was for the building. And it's in the minutes. If you go back and look at the minutes, Chief Jackson asked for the building first. So then, fully knowing that the new equipment was not going to fit in there, we couldn't find the money for a building. And so, like you say, the years start passing. We know we're going to need a truck. We know we need a building to fit a truck. And then the trucks were increasing in price so quickly. That is why this board decided to go ahead and order the truck, knowing that there would be 3-4 years to figure out how to put a building up. Since that truck has been ordered, I have been working to find grant money for a building. We had an option to apply for a CDBG grant up to $1 million that I could not get this board to agree to do a few more steps to get this building. So it's, you're incorrect in what you're saying.
Well,
So the
I'm just
building
going-
ask was
I'm
there
just going
first.
I'm just going by, you adopted a bond resolution in April for the truck, and then you adopted the bond resolution for the building in October, so it certainly looks like you put the truck before the building. Right? That's what
Well,
I'm going by.
Well, and we pulled back on that building. And because our residents can't afford it. And we have to look at the affordability for our residents. There is no doubt about it. And that is at the forefront of everything. But public safety is also important too. And like we've been told, we've waited. We've known we've needed some equipment for our firefighters to use here. So now we just have to take the appropriate steps forward so that we can make things affordable. We're not going to take out a loan for a building. We can't afford that, especially when we have a loan for a truck. But we need to move forward with grant opportunities to put the building up. For now, we have a place to put it. It's not the ideal place, but we have a place to put that truck until we can work to get some grant funding for a place for it.
So I moved forward after the Thursday, after our last board meeting. And, I did talk to, rural development, and there will be no problem with, loan off earlier. There is no prepayment, fees. Said we can pay it off tomorrow if we want to. We just have to call and get a closeout. I called the attorney from Nikon, and there's limited statutory guidance as far as selling property. As long as we receive fair and adequate consideration for the property. And, so, the first step in that process is declaring the equipment surplus. And then we would move forward either with a broker or an auction, or you could have a private sale. We have to discuss that, but I am proposing tonight a resolution to declare the Pierce aerial platform plant ladder truck as surplus equipment. Whereas on April 24th, 2023, the village board did adopt a bond resolution in the amount of $1,990,000 for the acquisition of a firefighting vehicle and or apparatus for use by the village. And on October 23rd, 2023, the village board did adopt a bond resolution in the amount of $1,106,640 for the reconstruction of or construction of improvements to the fire department building. And also on October 23rd, 2023, the village board did adopt a bond resolution in the amount of $5,325,360 for construction of a new building adjacent to the fire department. And whereas no funding plan was ever developed for the implementation of these projects, and the cost of the combination of these three projects will present undue hardship on the taxpayers of the village of Medina, we now therefore must declare the Pierce 100 HD aerial platform plant ladder truck and surplus equipment as the first step in offering this equipment for sale in the manner required by law, sufficient in the amount to satisfy current loan obligations. And furthermore, the surplus equipment will be stored, maintained, and monitored in a secure location until such time as it is sold. That's my motion.
So interesting that after the first day meeting, you called rural development, Bill, as mayor, to find out what the payoff would be. I listened to the board on Thursday, and I moved forward with the board's wishes to look into potentially selling the truck and to finding a used truck. So Wednesday, February 4th, Thursday, February 5th, and Friday, February 6th. I made several calls beyond what you did to brokers, to people interested in buying our truck. And I have a whole folder of information that I've been gathering. I also called back to our financial advisors to speak with them about what the municipality would have to do to sell a truck and to acquire a used truck in its place. And Sonia said, really, there are several people who need to be involved in the information gathering process. Our bond counsel, our financial advisors, USDA, she said she would want even something in writing, and our own village attorney. And she would be happy to set up a meeting with all of these people to make sure that we all know what is entailed when you want to sell a brand new piece of equipment, such as this truck. And we even have to look at, is this surplus? When we're going to go ahead and get another used truck potentially. But we have to fact it. This resolution that you made, nice, very nice that you went and did this on your own and put it in front of me at this meeting. Like, we could communicate a little bit better with each other. I have been doing what the board has wished, and I've been spending a lot of time doing this, only to have something like this put in front of me. We need to gather facts. There's no rush, but we do not have to make a decision tonight. We need to do things in the correct manner according to our financial advisors' recommendations. But how sad is this that that's put in front of me tonight?
I'd like to just weigh in on the, yes, information does need to be shared. And as a board member, I feel like I haven't got all the information. The process of the truck arriving, when it was going to be here, how, and thank you, Mike, for pointing a few things out to us. And I look back at it and I look at the history of it. Me, I would have, yeah, we should have done a little fact finding. What is the long-term implications of what we're doing here? It's 20 years. It's $800,000 worth of interest. When I sat on a board, if I was on the board and I looked at 11.9% tax increase, I would have said to myself at that moment, how did I get here? I would have went back and I would have looked at this right here. I look back. Where are we and where are we going? Well, why was it these tax increases? And these tax increases are coming. As a board member, and we talk about public safety, and I drove through the village of Medina today and saw 2 kids walking down the street. Icy roads. To me, that's public safety. Public safety comes in a lot more forms than just this truck. In my eyes, our sidewalks, our streets, our police, and everything. So at the end of the day, I look at it, I try to think to myself, yes, we need this apparatus. The first fire engine in the village of Medina was 1890, horse-drawn. Same buildings are here today, but we need this 100-foot apparatus that's going to put these buildings out. I'm not saying there's been fires in the day, and there's a lot of things to look at. So I do a lot of research. So I look up Wilson, I look up Clarence, I look up East Amherst, and I look at all these places, and I look at their fire protection, and I think, is Medina doing their part? I think we're doing our part. We have a paid department. No one else does. To have a paid department, and I greatly appreciate our guys and what means the most to me. When I invested in my community and I bought a house here that I'm going to live in the rest of my life, I looked at what do I want here? I want what I have to be safe in my home for the rest of my life. That's why I invested here. This debt for this truck isn't going away in 10 years. It's going to be here for 20 years. So I'm trying to figure out where our wins are. Where are our wins? And then I look at this, and it's crisis, right? And I hear the word a lot, especially on social media. It's only. You know how many it's only we have? the 48 cent, it's only 48 cents per thousand. I'll give you 10 right now. Our taxes are going to go up so much, not just from this. This is just one thing. One contract negotiation that may be coming up with our retirees in the pension fund could eventually, potentially be detrimental to the village. I'm not throwing a scare tactic out there, but that's why a lot of these raises came. The $350,000 over 4 years in retirement and benefits. Could have it been seen? A lot of it was, but that increase was pretty significant. When we talk about our reassessment year, the taxable evaluation of our community went up $100 million. 50%, we dropped at 32. If you split that in half, we know what it was. Even though on paper, it looks like 0.27%, but that's not really it, because the whole evaluation, when you opened up your tax bills. So what I'm saying, if you really just look at our taxes and where they're going, we're going to price ourselves right out of business, and we're going to strap ourselves. I'm not saying strap. I'm not saying that. This is neat. We have an option right now. Our water lines are losing 23% of billable water, right? If what happened to Buffalo over the weekend happened to us, we have no bailout for that. I'm not saying that there's a lot of things that are going to come to us, but right now we may have an option to buy a used ladder truck. We don't have an option to buy a used water line or a used sewer system. Ask our residents on West Ave that have to pay out of their very own money because our system backs up and they have to snake their sewer systems. We pass a lot of things on. And then when we talk about these increases, we're not even talking about the $140,000 annually on the sewer tax. Well, if you figure that in, not only, but that's our residents. We just pushed another 140 to them. We keep pushing. We're going to push ourselves right to a point where we're going to have to just throw our hands up. I do not want to tell our fire department I am not going to give them the proper equipment that they need. I just think that we have to look at it different. I look at tax rates in different municipalities. Villages, you can't find them. Try and find a paid fire department in a village the size of Medina. It really does not exist. But if you go to the towns, like let's take Clarence, 25,000 people, or let's say East Amherst, 40,000, and what their rates are. But if we scale it down, and let's just say Wilson, 5,800 people there, what they pay for fire protection is $1 per thousand. Ours is a significant amount more than this, just for this truck. I'm not saying that it doesn't have a value, but this truck in this building are $1. And then we put on the crisis here. We have a staffing crisis. We have another building crisis. This is another $1 per thousand. This is so when we look at it, we can't have a paid department, which we choose to have and what we want. We can't have a paid department and the best equipment. We have to be smart consumers. I do not think that this purchase, no part of it, was being a smart consumer. I'm sorry, I sat here and there wasn't a decision I could make until today. I was locked into a $340,000 penalty that I wasn't willing to take, and my view on things have changed since I've looked at it, and I would rather secure. There's people out there with 20, 30-year-old trucks. Our truck, provided us service up until 2 years ago. Do we want something that's going to put our staff in harm's way? Absolutely not. But is there something that we could get that we used within the village of Medina? When I look at the whole picture, I think that we have to think about Medina. Nobody comes in to help us. I mean, the towns, we're mutual aid. We give it and we receive it. We are so grateful for that. But we don't have to be the leaders in all we do on the backs of just a few people in the village of Medina that pay the bill. I'm sorry that I went off on it. I've been researching, trying to find the right answer, an answer that I can live with, that I have to give to the people here. And public safety means a lot to me. And yeah, would it be great? Is it the safest thing that we could probably do for the community? Absolutely. But I don't want a purchase today to jeopardize my future and my safety in this community. That's all.
Scott, let's backtrack a little bit to the decision to potentially sell the truck and acquire a used truck in the process that we have to go through in the fact gathering. So we need to do our due diligence and you know
We're
what?
doing it.
If we can find if we can make this happen and save taxpayer money and still give our firefighters the equipment that they need, absolutely.
Then
But we have to follow municipal law
Mhm.
and we can't make rash decisions until we gather all the facts that we need to have.
100% correct. Putting this in surplus, it'll be in surplus until we make a decision if we're gonna sell it or not. We'll still be getting information. We won't be depreciating the value of it, and we'll have it in there. If we find out that, hey, we can't do it, you're gonna get a $300,000 penalty, or it's not gonna work out the way that you are. But we have something that's valuable, that's costing, has the potential of costing the village of Medina taxpayers a lot of money in the future. I say that we just pause. Let's say for a second we took a wrong turn. Let's just stop for a minute and get the right direction and see where we're going to go in it. If we don't like, let's find a solution here. Let's not just get stuck behind what we think is right or individuals think are right. I think that we can, think our way out of this. And buying a used truck and selling it, maybe it's not the best decision. But buying and paying for this new ladder truck for 20 years and putting that on the backs of the taxpayers' dollars, I know 100% that is wrong. At the end of the day, we cannot afford this truck. That's just the way that it is. In my eyes, we cannot afford it, regardless of its only.
Matt, can you talk to the information? Have you looked at information regarding declaring a truck surplus? Brand new.
Yeah, I looked into things. I think it was at the big board meeting we had last month. One of the questions was me to look into the legality of it, and I looked at did research. I looked at Debbie sent some things out. Looked at village law, town law. I mean, when it comes to certain municipalities or towns to sell a piece of fire equipment, and I think I can only find applying to town fire districts. You have to have a referendum. I could not find anywhere where it said that applies to a village. So I looked at that. I looked at some state comptroller opinions on the issue of how to find the best process, whether we would have to go to auction, whether we would have some sort of consultant, the broker. And I think it was mentioned, I don't know whoever mentioned it, that really the job is to get the maximum price for the taxpayer dollars. So, and then of course, as you mayor indicated, there's trying to get the best deal and make sure with the way we financed it and talked to the municipal, the bond brokers and everyone else to make sure that we don't lose any money or violate any contracts there. One thing that, and I see in the motion that Debbie handed out today, and this is something from one of the articles, I think that was promulgated by one, I'm not sure, one of the board members.
Debbie did.
About selling and the process, and that sort of backs up everything. And the question I came up with, and I actually spent a little couple hours today researching, is the declaration of surplus and trying to find out what the definition of surplus, because typically when we've always had a surplus item, it's an item that we've had used, it's worn out, we no longer need it anymore, or we've upgraded, bought a new one. And it says in this article, and I actually tried to find a municipal definition. The article said, one of the first thing declared surplus, a city or village cannot identify property as unneeded for its sole purpose of selling it for profit. So you can't do this for a profit motive. Of course, we can realize a profit if we just happen to, but that shouldn't be the primary motive. But the part here that I tried to research more, and I wasn't having much luck, and I wanted to try to call, but I ran out of time. This Rebecca Rosita, who wrote the article, is nor may a municipality declare a particular item as surplus with the intent of replacing the possession with something substantially similar. Instead, the property must be truly superfluous or unusable by the municipality. So that was my concern from a legal point of view. How do we, really what we're doing here is we are saying if it's to be sold that we can't afford it. And is it superfluous? Well, maybe not if we're buying another truck. That's what I was trying to get more research on, and at the end of the day came too quick. Wasn't able to contact anybody. So that was my concern. And I guess it's sort of, when I see the motion surplus, is it surplus or is it, I know there was a motion a while back to take it out of service, not to put it in service. And I don't know it's a board decision. It's an administrative political decision. Is it surplus or is it to not be put in service? But I guess my question is, does it fit into the definition of surplus? It might. Part of it is a political or administrative decision, not, and which can be with a board can be a matter of opinion. That's how the board works. You have all the votes. So it can be done. I think we have to follow the right procedure. Surplus is a question I had in my mind from last week and still don't have the answer because it really isn't a definition anywhere. I checked village law, town law, general municipal law.
Well, I discussed that with Rebecca when I called her. You talked about the reason for declaring it surplus. So I understand what you're saying about the definition of surplus. That was my concern as well. Because is it surplus? But the fact remains that we can't sell any village property unless it's declared surplus. So this is a matter of formality in order to sell it, in my not legal opinion. You would have to, we can't sell it without declaring it surplus. That's just the rule. That's one of the only rules that we have to follow from what I'm gathering. So, and she did tell me that to appease the state controller's office, that we would need to declare in the resolution the reason for declaring it surplus and thereby wanting to sell it, which I think I've done. So and it's not just the matter of the truck. I mean, we keep talking about the truck, but it's not just the truck. We can just keep the truck, but we have nowhere to keep the truck. So we can't just keep the truck. It's the truck and the building. It's more than just the truck. We can't afford it.
So Deb, did you write up this resolution on your own?
Yes, I did. I've done a few of them.
Matt, the part in the, referencing what trustee Padaleski sent on from Rebecca, the municipal corporation must possess fee ownership of the property. What does that mean?
Well, when you talk about fee, usually fee is, it comes from law about real property and the type of title that you own, complete title to it. I think it transfers, and that was a question. And I think this is a question that would have to be answered by some sort of, meeting of the minds, like you said, that was suggested to you. Do we have full ownership that we can transfer title? Usually when you have a car, of course, a car is a lot less money, but you have a car and you have a loan on, you can transfer. This is a little bit different, I assume, but I'm not an expert in the bond, where do we have full ownership that we're capable of transferring title? I think Deb said that she spoke to somebody and said that we could. I think that's what that refers to in the article. Do we have that? I think that needs to be answered affirmatively by, if we have a meeting with all the necessary parties, that we are even in a position yet that we have clear title that we can transfer. Just like, when we got that property, we did a title search to make sure there's no liens. Here, obviously, there's a significant lien, but it's not just your regular car loan, it's a bond. And we have to make sure that that gets cleared properly.
Right, we buy things through vans and bonds all the time, and there's never a lien on the police car or the dump truck, or there's never a lien.
Yeah, I'm not saying, I'm saying I don't know the answer to. I just wanna, in response to that question is fee, what we own, exactly how we own it. And there may not be a lien. I don't know. That's a question that I think is part of the due diligence in selling it. Definitely needs to be answered.
I did have a conversation a few weeks ago with bond counsel, as well, and the only, implication that he said was if we were to sell it for more, if we were to sell the truck for more than we owed on it, that there could be tax implications with anything that we did with say if there was surplus money. But if we were to use, say we made 100,000 on it or whatever, if we were to use that money for municipal purposes, that would be covered. And that, they were certainly willing to work with us. I mean, this is definitely an unusual situation, and it's not one that I'm happy to be in. This is very uncomfortable, and I feel like I'm in the twilight zone with this. It's very bizarre. And having conversations with professional people regarding this is also very uncomfortable because it's an odd thing that we're doing. But he assured me that that they would work with us, and I assumed that you would call them as well, Marguerite. So, but
Sonia talked to me and said that she would be happy to set up a meeting with all of the parties who could give us all the information that we wanted. I had no idea you were going to propose putting this in surplus because, as we're hearing from our council, surplus is concerning to him until he takes part in a meeting where we can pull, or she'll pull everyone together that we can be a part of, and we can all hear it so that we know how to proceed.
So what are we gonna do in the meantime? Just proceed forward and then we just use the truck, devalue of it, and then lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, training on it, putting hours on it and everything that we do. I think that Debbie brought this, forward because it doesn't matter what the board says. At the end of the day, we're really not heard that much. I've been trying to say it for months and months that we really need to have a budget set for what we can spend, not just what we went and spent. Like me, I would like to just, are we going to sell the truck? What can we get for it? I too have, gone out of bounds and contacted purchasers and people that would like to buy it. I'll be honest in seeing what it is. I'm not going to go in it and lose $300,000-$400,000, but to me, if it's not in the wishes of the entire board, it's, there's a lot of information I don't get as well. So if we're just stuck on just keeping it, we have to come up with something like this. So at least it goes into surplus and we have a chance to look at our options and what.
Well, right now, the truck isn't in service, it's just they're being trained on it. We, as part of the deal, I've said this to the board, as part of the purchase agreement, 3 days of training were given to our employees on the truck. A great deal of it is in the classroom. I guess they had it out today and they were looking at what they learned in the classroom on the truck. It's not in service yet. So 3 days of training, they've flown someone in from Wisconsin to train our people on the truck. After it's done, it goes back to Tonawanda for some more, that needs some more electrical work at the end, after the training on Wednesday. It's not even in service yet. In the meantime, we can allow our training to take place. Even if we don't keep it, I mean, it's training that was already scheduled with our employees. And then we can let our bank or let our financial advisors set up a meeting so that we all know what will have to be done in order to move forward if this board decides they want to declare the surplus and if they can and sell the truck.
I feel that I've already done my due diligence on this matter, and I've made telephone calls and done some research, and I made this resolution, and a motion has been made.
Yes, but you're working by yourself to do all of this. We as a board need to, is there a second?
There's a second.
Okay, now we'll open up for discussion. Jess, do you have anything to add?
Not particularly, no. I mean, it seems like, am I correct in saying that the reason that we don't want to use the truck right now, the reason some of the board doesn't want to use the truck right now is to try to retain value?
That's correct.
And I mean, I'm pretty new to the ladder truck world, but how much value would be lost in a few months of training or a few months of use or whatever? Because the truck hopefully doesn't go out a whole lot. So I'm assuming it would be just like after the training, I'm assuming it would be fairly hard. Unless we had a fire, in which case I would be very uncomfortable making a resolution to.
It won't even go out for a while, for weeks.
What do you mean?
Because it has to go back to the shop for some more electrical work. And I don't know when we're getting it back, but it's not going to be put into service right away.
And is that all part of the initial contract, or is that those problems that came up along the way? Like, was it always supposed to go back, or is that something new?
I believe, is it new, Mike, or is it?
It's part of the process of going through the truck and training with it. We find little issues that need to be addressed, just, coming from the factory, certain, electrical wiring isn't finished properly. Today we found some issues with some pressures and stuff. The purpose of having the training, it's actually required by law that they provide the training to us before we can take possession of the truck, is for us to make sure that we are adequately trained on it, we can operate safely, and that the truck is able to operate safely. So running it through all these test procedures and all that allows us to find anything that might have been overlooked in the factory and make sure that when we do take final possession of it, it is 100% the way it needs to be.
Okay, so for the current, for the time being, like we're kind of doing like a training that teaches you guys, works the bugs out of the truck, if I understand correctly.
Full purpose, yeah.
Okay, so some bugs were discovered and now it's going back under the initial contract, no additional expense from us, I assume?
That's my understanding.
Okay,
These
And
are
then-
a punch list items that need to be finished up at town hall. They knew that coming into Wisconsin. There were several items that we had found in Wisconsin, but there were also several items that they just prepared to do in town hall. It's cheaper to do it in town hall.
okay. And then as far as us, like, is it mileage? Is it literally pulling the hoses out? Like, what are we worried is depreciating, I guess?
Well, it's like anything, everything depreciates. But are we gonna put Medina on the side of the truck? Because that was in the negotiation too. Is it gonna show up back here and we're gonna try and sell a truck that says Medina Fire Department? If we choose to sell the truck and it says Medina Fire Department on the side, because we sent a couple requests over. I know that I sent an email out and, I didn't feel comfortable, even though that they did fulfill it. So the pressure, are we putting water in this truck and then storing it in a non-heated facility?
Not talking hydraulic.
Okay.
So,
But those are things, that don't necessarily get to, me in questions that I would like to, have answered on it. So even though that it's in the contract and we want to make sure that we fulfill that, I know that the lettering of the truck was in there too. Is all of a sudden this thing gonna come back on Honda and it says Medina Fire Department on it, and then we're, stuck if we chose to sell
So here's the thing, something else to answer your question, Jess, as Scott and I were both looking at used trucks and cheap. We were looking at used trucks, and some trucks that are 10, 12 years old are going for $1.7 million right now, as we were looking at them. So as far as depreciation, I don't think we have to worry about that. But on another note, speaking of what you're alluding to, as part of our agreement in the purchase of the truck, the training was included and the detailing. So as I expressed to the board after checking with council, since we own this truck, if we are not going to take advantage of the training or of the detailing, we lose that. You don't get it back. You're not going to get any money back, and it's not transferable to anyone who we sell it to. They said that if we sold it to someone and they wanted training, they would have to pay for it. So it's estimated right now that it costs approximately $4,000 to $6,000 for this training that they are receiving right now. And I believe it was $6,300 in detailing. So if this board does not want to have any more training, or if they want to stop the detailing, they can do so by resolution, because at this point in time, it is the taxpayers' money and we are overseeing the money. So we will lose that amount of money by not taking advantage of that.
Why would we not have the detailing done? But are we paying, obviously our fire department, they're not training for nothing. They're standing there. I mean, I'm sure they're getting paid. So, I didn't know if that would be a tax savings, to the taxpayers.
I think that's already in there. But Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, is that part of the contractual training hours available? Yeah, so we budgeted for that anyhow, but on top of that,
Still,
just to put a little piece of, maybe a slight break from the tenseness of the conversation. I'm like 3/4 of an idiot, and I can DID a vehicle, putting the decals on there is expensive and complicated, taking them off in my work at the auction. You give me a couple tools, I can do it for free. So I'm not too worried about the putting the labels on it. I do have some questions about the as far as getting the depreciation. I understand miles on a car, that kind of thing. Is it negligible? Is it significant? Is there like a metric you can look at to know that? Like I get the vibes. I bought a used car the year it came out because it had 4,000 miles on it. That made it significantly cheaper than a new one. So I get the premise. But like, what kind of a difference are we talking about for a ladder truck when we're talking depreciation? Are we talking like, because I do think that we're firmly safe in we're not looking to make a profit, and that nobody intends to make a profit, but it's very likely based on what these vehicles are going for now that
if there
we
was
could
a
sell it
profit,
for
if there was a profit, why wouldn't we want to maximize it? Because the more profit that we made on it, we can put towards our budget to buy one that we can afford.
I'm not saying we would avoid a profit. I'm just saying I wouldn't want to do it at the detriment of public safety. So if we have a truck that's here, that we purchased, that's parked here, and we're talking a difference of, I want to know how significant that savings was before we decide to take something out of service that we've invested time and money in.
I don't like the word detriment to public safety, because if it was a detriment to public safety, we would have realized 4 years ago when we ordered this, we couldn't afford it, and we would have had something already here that we could afford. And it's not a detriment. It's not like every single village has a ladder truck or even a paid fire department. I mean, we're doing our part. We have mutual aid. There's no detriment to public safety here. It's at one time we have to do what is responsible for our taxpayers financially and for public safety. The village right next to us doesn't have a fire department or a paid fire department or a ladder truck. The town of Ridgeway doesn't have a ladder truck. I mean, I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
And I see what they're fire protection rate is. At the end of the day, it's what about we can afford? You know, people wanna, it's only, you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe we are, but I know what our village taxpayers pay for fire protection, and we're just trying to maximize our exposure of what we're gonna be up against spending. That's all that we're doing here, is just taking a look at what we have.
So do you have a number though, that we could run that up against? Because I
have
mean, I
no
disagree
idea.
about the detriment to public safety. It's okay that we can
Yeah.
disagree about that, but I do prefer to our fire department strongly that we need that, and I'm by no means a firefighter, and I won't be applying anytime soon.
I am not either.
But when these guys are, well, forget that. The places that you mentioned, they don't have a hospital that I got sitting in my backyard. Like
Rockport doesn't?
so, well, Strong West, a little different. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I'll take it. There might be some Rockport viewers of Channel 13. I don't want to offend
Oh, really?
anybody. But when I think about what we have here, to me, it feels like if we have the tool available, I would want to know how much money we would be potentially saving or losing by keeping the truck available to the department before I made that decision.
So once again, bringing this around. Captain Young said that he was an integral part of the ordering of the truck. They did look for used. There were no used available at the time, which is documented back in some notes when the board discussed it, when I went back through the old minutes. So maybe now there is. Maybe, and that's why we're looking. That's why you've spent time and I've spent time looking for potentially used vehicles, and we're, obviously going to be working with our chief and captain in doing this. So just bringing it back around, before we declare something surplus, we have the training to deal with. Does the board not want because we have somebody here training who's staying in a hotel right now, who has to take a plane home. Do you want to stop the training? And because this, like Matt said, it's taxpayer money. And do you want to stop the detailing? So I think that has to be a decision before we move on to potentially declaring something surplus that is a little bit premature, according to our council and our financial advisors. I mean, this goes beyond, like, the personal feelings are here. There's no one denying that. But the appropriate way to proceed from here, there is municipal law to follow, and there are procedures that should be followed. And none of us are attorneys, and nor are we financial advisors, except for Matt. Matt's an attorney. So we hire an attorney to advise us.
I repeat my motion to declare the ladder truck surplus.
Okay?
And repeat my own second.
Okay, is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? I oppose also, because we have not followed proper municipal procedure and council advice. Larry?
Real quick, I'm looking at my crystal ball. I should have done this during discussion. What is supposed to happen to a vehicle that is declared surplus, but it's still here? Does it have have to go, like normally if we have a truck and we're using it anymore, we go park it down outside of the DPW. This is obviously something we are not auctioning with minimal value. This is something that we would need to, I'm assuming, protect in some way. Does it sit at compost? Can a firefighter look at it, touch it? Like what is the expectation of the board? Because I don't want in 2 weeks for us to be sitting back here with us and the fire department misunderstanding the expectation of what happens with our fire department and with the truck moving forward. And since this is a new position to us, I don't know what the board's expectations are. So the majority making the motion, is it possible to get from you guys maybe an expectation of what you suspect what you expect to happen with the truck and any fire department interaction with it?
The motion indicates that it will be stored, maintained, and monitored in a secure location until such time as it is sold. And I'm pretty sure that Chief Cooley will make sure that happens in however, whatever fashion he sees fit.
Okay, so then,
Unless some other board members have some other ideas as to the details, but
well, I guess I'm just gonna ask the hard question. Let's say that there's some fire that they would normally pull a ladder truck out for. The vehicle is surplus. We expect the vehicle not to be pulled out, or if it's sitting there fully ready to go.
it's not gonna be fully ready to go. And
May I speak to something else?
Yes.
So along the same concept of being declared surplus, but still being here in the village, what is our legal responsibilities? We have apparatus that we use to save lives, but we're not allowed to use it. What does that bring on us responsible legally? The other question is, would you please at least allow us to continue the training on it, fulfill the obligations of the contract, that we can get the lettering and everything done, so that in the event that we do keep this, it's not lost money and it's not something we have to pay for later on?
The lettering seems pretty minimal, so, I mean, if we, decided that we weren't gonna sell it, that it didn't make sense, it wasn't gonna bring enough money, that we decided to, after it's surplus, it's like any other item that we sell. But why would we letter it? I mean, we're talking about fractional to have it lettered at a later date.
It's also gonna cost $0 to get our name removed from it, like we do any other apparatus that we sell.
That's not true. I was at the compost when the other ladder truck went out the door the other day, and it was scraped off with a razor blade. And they tried taking the rest off. I was there, and they had to get tape and put it over it so it didn't say the fire department on there. And they even had a blowtorch; it wouldn't come off. So just like, why do it if we don't have to do it? So we don't have to put the Medina Fire Department on it at the time being. Why put it on there?
My question is, why not fulfill the obligations of the contract? Receive the truck as it's supposed to be, allow us to finish our training, allow us to finish having it prepared. There's still equipment that's supposed to be mounted on that truck from the factory that's not mounted yet.
Oh, allow them to mount anything that we got with it, put on there. But at the end of the day, our guys that are there and the training, it does cost money, but I know that it was set aside and it was budgeted, and, but it's training that might, could we use it in another area, training on something else, or could those resources of our, firefighters' hours be more of a resource someplace else? I don't know. But if we're going to be training on a truck that we may not keep.
I would, I'd like to discuss in private with council. I would like to have about 10 minutes to discuss a contractual issue with council right now.
Touching. He's probably got some other. Sure. Well, you have some. You know, sort of. Yeah, I think so. That would be refreshing. You know, floor, bathroom, whatever it is. Lower and everything out of this. That was part of it. You know, I mean, we were not, let's see where we're down there, you know. To make a arrangement yeah, and if they don't have, you know,
Nobody else is tonight.
Another problem. You can't really classify That's the whole purpose of the bill. The reason.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but share, so I think for all the.
Yeah. Well,
Well, I think it's interesting. They have to find. However, and let's say. You just have to get it. What do you think more? So. Well, what is not? Now, what is here? How can here? You get more data. And if you remember, you work 12 hours on Sunday. But in 2 weeks, and there, there's something. So what they did, and I like let's say your salary. You divide the hours. Based on every 2 weeks. Yeah. But all of it is. We did check out. Yeah.
No, they don't.
But people.
And then. Right now, this whole campus, so then, that's where you drive.
So if your name's signed.
Now, yes, my.
He doesn't like.
So I didn't think. Those two guys. That's all. Very good. They're not, they weren't too.
I think the money.
Yeah, it wasn't. But I think. And then everything.
In May. But no.
And that is,
And you guys know.
And see, it's not just, I don't know, I've talked to them, they know, this training, that's still not certain. But it's not a. Because if we were to do that, I think our life would be fine. Just trying to say it. So I think we don't. Well, wrong. Anyone is still. So that's 16 years ago. And you put those people up. We're not just. We are agriculture. You know, intelligence, we start back in. Green plan. So it's efficient for water. So. Right, you know, Rick, you know, you know, because we all have this. I mean, you know, guys want to push too often, too, that was what they told me.
You know, they slowly read.
You know,
So.
and we're what we did on what's called the burn fires. Yeah, yeah.
The other.
And the training is a lot.
And then you follow it's letters, and that's all, that is not sexual. Oh, that's good. So, 2 weeks later, that changed. So we were going out there, talking originally about.
With the idea.
Like, can't sound like I was flying out at 26. And it was a person. Changed like 2 degrees forward.
And then I did say they tend to get one. They say that shared service, like when you want to show, you can do that, that's a shared service.
Like,
No.
I mean, very true.
Which they should.
That probably be, there may be a couple more onto that now since they did that. That was a 21. So we might have a couple. Everyone wants to take the library. So I mean, that might say the same, but there was more building that I think that number is like, I think we should use these parts. I think that's much.
Yeah, yeah. Not just like.
Right, so you got nursing home in the hospital.
That's something.
Like, there's more, and I know there's a bunch of other numbers. So I think it's about. Well, I'm looking at what's been. I went through it in video. Come up with your, and then that converts over. Sure. That's what I consider.
We went down.
Even, I mean, for residential structure.
Yeah, the majority of the country is fine. The majority of the targets are listed as fine.
Either 5 or 6. You're not gonna have obviously you 6 residential operations.
That also caters to business.
Exactly. So, yeah. How rapidly.
Not here. To the rest of the area. Now, your business. And I want that. That was something that the area.
Every now and then she reaches another diminished plateau. And she has a hip replacement on here. She did this, no problem. Sounds good. Sorry. Okay. Which was. Right. And then. Straight park. Yeah. Like one is the way it's done. It's been told, you're like, yeah. It's not is it a lot? I can that's not too late. Very smart.
Why didn't there was some?
Right, I mean, she didn't live health. You know, it's not specifically. Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Also ready for. You don't have a ladder truck? So he really wants to call.
They came to be somewhere because all right. So generated. You don't have better yet than everything certain about service, get a certificate. So it's worth like so you go down the grading scale. I think ours came out with 59. I don't know 6, but ways to the system. So because there's 105. The PVC, so perfect score. Everything.
Exactly.
Which is the back. No, there's. Yeah, exactly. Syracuse. My parents were up there. So the third. What's that? And there's an upgrade going on right now where they're trying to get them. So it's So there are other,
We're five there.
so you use the service credit for the truck. That was all. Great. But there's other things that. So you start using there, that. So I was working out of my brother. All the networks. Yeah. I think we share the same opinion about that. So. I said,
Insurance company, and they have more risk to insure that stuff.
just that money they get every day.
And then once you have this help, use my funds. And then. No additional funds. Biggest problem we're hit is commercial and industrial. Fire department, first responding units, so what's coming out of our fire, not usually what's coming out of fire. And we can supply 35 hundred gallons or more water for those structures. And we have the ladder to reach the highest points of those roofs with proper ventilation, so we can limit the amount of fires. Fact is, having that ladder, so question of water supply. It could very well make. They're gonna come back and say, we'll insure you, but we're not gonna cover 100%. It's not covered, but we're taking too much risk. We're gonna say that it's flat out will not insure. We're gonna say, you can make things, you can make adjustments in your building. But you can add. Oh, it all depends on what you do.
Depends on what the issue is.
California, single
Interstate is very long.
National standards is just for. Follow
Building need a sprinkler, and there's a lot of requirements that go in. Many factors that go.
Yes, just the same.
Empty one.
It's common sense. So a big selling point for businesses building this area is you got for fire department and you got ladder. We started using our staff. Now, so wonderful. Yeah, so you don't have the rate. I'm saying if we turn it back into coverage, you know, the cost of
Experience, yeah. Skill sets.
It's gonna cost me so much. You're gonna have. Way long term.
Yeah. You gotta be. We're on the get-go response. And broader, and you said broader too, broader. We're on first call now. They're on the opposite side. He's got, so we're on the initiative.
Your staff, I mean, realistically,
Unfortunately, if you yourself to build the event,
That's the minimum amount to have the two ambulances. That's what we spend. Fire calls go out, two ambulance calls, like today, we read. 4 calls, yeah. 3 different times. They had all the ambulances. I was telling you, I heard RC. We don't have people back staffing just for the we don't all full platoons of staff. 8 people on the road. I don't think it's enough. And the overtime cost. With, you know,
That's what I'm saying.
train the numbers to save more. It's fine. I'll start it. And overtime. It's today. We have to get this right. Yeah, it's not, you know, each one's a little bit. And it's a slow, they all sliding scale. Yeah, so. You know, I can't remember math. Yeah.
It's only very. I mean, it wasn't.
It's hard to make that because, you know, hindsight's 20/20.
It should be. The road runs block something.
I think that.
If they don't want it,
I don't know what
I don't want to stay in
everything's fine. I don't know what the regulations are. You know, they're gonna take. Over here. There's gonna be, you know, just doesn't matter where you go. Nobody wants to pay.
It's 40. Find out. It is a lot.
It's just so different.
So the resolution was, to declare the, ladder truck as surplus equipment. There was some question as to whether the training and the detailing would be allowed. That was part of the contract. So I'm looking for, a motion from the board as to whether or not the training and the detailing can be done.
I'll make the motion for the training.
So you're making a motion that the training be completed
Yes,
as planned?
as per contract and obligation of the manufacturer to finish what's left on the truck.
Okay. Nobody, can you say it again?
Yes, motion for them to finish the training and fulfill the obligation of the needs for the truck.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Deb. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
What was the motion was
To allow for the training.
to allow for the training and fulfill the entire contract? That's what you wanted?
other than the lettering.
Oh, so we gotta change the motion.
Yeah.
So to modify the motion,
To finish the training for our firefighters and to finish the obligations, and we're not gonna have the truck lettered from the manufacturer.
Second.
is that good for you? Seth? So,
I mean, I'm gonna oppose it. I just wanted to make sure what was said in there is what came out here.
okay. So, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Is there any more discussion on the ladder truck? So just so I have, my mind straight, and then we have it, so we're in full transparency, we are still going to continue, we are going to allow our financial advisor to set up a meeting so that we can understand municipal law and the specifics of the potential of selling the truck. Is the board good charging Sonia with doing that and setting this up? Scott?
Is as far as moving forward with getting, the legal aspect, but I thought that we already
We
were
don't have,
informed.
Deb did that on her own, but our financial advisor has offered to set up a meeting with everyone involved so that everyone can talk at the same time and the board can hear it.
I'm willing to listen.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm on the listen.
Louder.
I'm on the listen.
Deb?
I already heard it. I already had the conversation.
Okay. Okay, so I will call Sonia tomorrow and tell her to go ahead, with setting up some sort of joint meeting to understand the process, so that we can all understand the process and the legalities of it.
Is this the same as what Deb has already discussed with me? Did you talk to her, Deb?
Did you talk to Sonia specifically? Because why would she have told you something different than she told me?
I don't think she did tell you anything different.
Did she tell you that everyone should be involved and she would set up a meeting so that everyone could talk in a Zoom meeting, and so we could get all the questions answered?
No, I asked her the question. Answered. I asked her what were the legalities of selling it and paying off the bond, and she said we had to clear it with rural development. I called rural development and they said you could do it. And I called bond council and they said the only implication was the tax. If you sold it for more than, there's no issue here.
Well, I don't know why she would have told me something different.
Did she want to have a meeting?
Well, yeah, she suggested that she would set it up.
Yeah,
So,
well, you're welcome in, Mayor.
Deb's already talked to her. I don't see the need of, setting up a meeting. I think we should just move forward.
we're all liable if something isn't done correctly.
I think she already talked to this lady. And, we're repeating something that, again, that we already did. I'm sure Deb's not lying to us.
Marguerite needs to be sure.
Yeah, I mean, nobody has to attend a meeting they don't want to attend. It's not hurt anybody.
Thank you, Martha, for your faith.
Okay. Looking at my notes. Is there anything else I missed as far as the ladder truck? Okay,
My concern also, I'm sure the fire chief, if that thing's gonna be, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
And, I'm sure that you're gonna be putting water in this, correct? Is it not? No, okay. That would be my concern, to put water, I to put it back where it's not heated. I'm sure you're smart enough to take water, but it goes in heated.
It came here empty, it'll stay empty. We do need to make a couple modifications. I know in a prior meeting, we discussed.
speaking for the microphone, so.
So there's a few things addressed today, that the trainer, we need to have the hydraulic fluid a little bit warmer. And it was -6 in there. I know the temperature is going to go up over the next couple days, but having it somewhere it's heated and where we can wash it would be great. And we can't do that where it's at right now. So there was talk early on about some heat down at compost.
I was under the understanding that there was space over at DPW, that there was a heated bay over there that we were gonna originally use. That's why I was surprised when I heard that it was a compost facility.
No, I think that it was between the two, but this board in a resolution or at a board meeting decided that the compost facility was fine when we were discussing the possibility of, renting the old Snappy building.
I remember
And
all
then
of
this
that.
board said the compost facility.
We did say that, but I believe that you said that we were keeping that, DPW.
Well, I knew that was an option.
I believe that was Jason Watts that offered that, that meeting, and I asked him straight out if he had room over at DPW, which was the heated side.
Okay, I'll talk to Jason tomorrow and then we'll get those arrangements made. So when, after training is complete tomorrow, we'll put it to bed at the DPW if that's workable with Jason. We'll find a solution.
Is, you over the equipment that that you stripped off the other truck that you're gonna transfer over to this truck?
Off the old ladder,
Yes.
what specifically? Because everything came off.
It's gonna be put over from the old truck to this truck is what I would like to know. I am not a fireman and that was mentioned. What equipment?
All of it.
All.
Mhm.
As in hoses, nozzles.
Correct.
And, that is my concern, putting all that equipment on there. And then we surplus it. That stuff is not folded down, the stuff to be stripped back off, right?
Yes, there's some tool holders and whatnot that were within the contract that they have to, I believe the tools need to be finished mounted. There's a couple of them. There's the electric outlets and power sources that they still have. That's the only punch item right now. I'm trying to think if there's anything else without my notes. There's a couple things, and that's what's going to get taken care of at town hall.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
I think, Chief, just so you understand, I think that, and you don't have any. So Mark is worried that if this truck is sold, he wants all of our equipment back off it before it's sold.
Oh, that's correct. There's actually there's 4 ladder belts, 6, I believe, that haven't shipped yet to Churchville. Those will all come off. The hooks, the tools that were within this contract on that truck, everything would come off prior to it being surplus.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay. Is that it for the ladder truck? Okay, I would like to set up some budget meetings with the board. Budget sheets have been distributed to the department head for them to begin pulling together, and I'm thinking, are Fridays good for you, Mark? Are there certain days that are better for everyone?
I'd like to stay away from Wednesdays if we can.
Okay, Fridays during the day, Mark?
It's fine.
How are Fridays with the rest of the board? What-
I'm fine with Friday,
What time?
9 a.m.
Not 8 a.m.?
Yeah.
How about 10 a.m.?
We'll put 9 a.m.
9? So 9 a.m., Friday, February 27th?
But that's a month before the election. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I thought we'd get started in discussing, where we were. Just think of it as after the election, we have till April 30th to adopt the budget. Usually we fill our April. We could start fresh in March.
No, I certainly think that that's the right time to do it. I just know I have a board who wants the new people to be able to be on the budget, and there's no possible way this same board will be constituted next term. So we're starting the budget before the new people come in, but we're also opposed to that.
Oh, good point.
Be involved in the budget. We don't adopt it. We'll have to give it.
But they won't be involved from day one. Like, so just backtracking a little bit. So far I'm hearing the board is not going to vote to put it on the ballot because that vote will be on Monday, February 23rd. To a resolution to put it on the ballot to change the election, and then the voters will decide if the election date is changed. Am I hearing that this board does not want to hear from the voters as to changing the election? You're hearing from me, okay?
All right, so you said February 27th? Is that what you said? Say 9?
9 to 11.
Is that where we were having those budget meetings at the office here?
Yes, we have to have an office because Jada can have her get back and forth to her. What's that, Mike or Scott?
No.
Is there a reason you're having them at 9 a.m. so people that are working can't be there? History shows that we've done it at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon over like 2-3 years.
Well-
That's the only one.
Well, let's pick, if we're gonna pick nighttime, then we've got to go into, we'll go into March then.
You don't want to do the kind of stuff?
Well, not on a Friday night,
Okay.
right? The board wants to do it on Friday night.
What do I got to do? To work.
Friday at 5 then, for
I'll be fine with that.
the 27th, 5 to 7.
Thank you.
And, that will be just to, we will have, we'll start with, we just got to. Usually meet with department heads for the first 3 meetings.
There's need 3 more.
Okay, so that'll be police on the 27th. And police and codes on the 27th. And then skip 2 weeks and do Friday, March 13th then, if you want, do you want to stick with Friday's board?
Sure.
Okay, March 13th, we'll do DPW, 5 to 7. And then March 27th, for fire and ambulance. After that, after that, we'll schedule our April budget meetings once we have the new board. With that being said, is there a motion to adjourn? By Jess? Second by Deb, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Hey, Marguerite, that meeting that you're scheduling for everybody, is that gonna be a public hearing?
Not a public hearing, it's a public meeting, anytime a board gets together to discuss anything.
Right, we're gonna have it here,
No, it's going to be in the village office.
but the public can come to it, right?
Yes, you've come to a
Yeah,
board.
okay,
We
yeah.
have chairs set up.
But I mean, I know you said the meeting where you're getting everybody together, not the budget meeting.
Oh, that will be a Zoom meeting. And I'm gonna have to check with the open meetings law regarding that because it's for informational purposes only. And I will have to check on that.
Okay, thank
So
you.
she's gonna be setting that up.
Jada?
No, our financial advisor.
Thank you.
Did they fill? John. No, they altered things.
Yeah.
Chief, one captain.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, they did that. Coming up. Yeah, so we got big report.
Good night, yeah. Or that.
Anyone here? Here, right now. Even if you're- It's gotta worry about that.
True.